sense of the general movement is that that when you look in a baby's eyes, it's there right from the start. In fact, it's there so clearly you can't miss it. Looking in my little girl's eyes, literally the moment she opened her eyes for the very first time, and she happened to be looking at me, and just that whole, it's like the Buddha. It's just, oh my goodness, that huge, spacious, vast, empty presence.
Yes.
But she didn't know that. I knew that.
Yes.
She had to come into being conscious, and that meant breaking the world up, giving things names, coming to separateness. Now, as that happens, I think you're right. There is always this background. The background's there the whole time, and for some kids, especially, they're very aware of it. I was, and clearly you were, and I see that in my kids and other people. So it's there, and you're right. But still, they're coming in. And then when we come in, we literally, don't we? We grow into it. Our cells multiply, our thoughts multiply, we get bigger and we come in. And by the time we're in, we're now in the world where we're competent adults, and we're separate, and we're able to function in the world. We don't need someone to look after us in the same way. But you're right, what we've lost, and you watch kids do this, don't you? You lose that magic. You can see you're with them 1 minute, and it's almost like a darshan hit, because you're with them and you're getting that magic, and then they get a little bit older, and it starts to go. My sense is that obviously it'd be lovely if it didn't, and I don't think it ever does completely, but that there's a natural process happening here, whereby you come in, and then the journey, once you're in, another journey starts, which is the spiritual journey, which is the journey back into yourself, but you're retracing what you did unconsciously, but you're now doing it consciously, which is why when you come back into this place where you're the deep self, where you wake up, it feels incredibly childlike, because it's the, when I come back here, it's like there's a little Tim, there's a baby, when I look in your eyes and I see deeply enough, I see the moment your eyes first opened. And so what we're discovering is a kind of a paradoxical circle. You come in, you lose it, but then you can find it, but now consciously.
Yes.
And maybe I can just say this, that because, like we were saying, because oneness, awareness in itself, if you like, is unconscious, it only becomes conscious in separateness. If we need to enter separateness to become conscious, people say to me often, Tim, I want to be one with everything. And my standard reply, just for the hell of it, is I just go, that's easy, go to sleep. Because in deep sleep, you're one with everything. You just don't know it. And of course, they can say, that's not what I mean. And it's not. What they mean is, I want to be consciously one. And that means to be separate and not separate. It means to enter into the separateness, so you're conscious, but to reflect on yourself so that you're also aware of this all-embracing oneness of being, which is at the ground. And so what I see is that process is mirrored actually in our lives. We come in, we're one, but we don't know it. We become separate, so we get lost, and then we reflect back on ourselves, so we're separate and not separate. And that archetypal journey is one way of describing, I think, what goes on in the life process and the spiritual awakening process.
And actually, I think it also happens for a lot of people with awakening. They wake up, they have this huge experience, and then they lose it.
Of course, yes.
And then they get back to it. Then they're actually really searching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it becomes, in the end, it's a process of integration whereby the two, the oneness and the separateness, become part of the experience.
Yes, for me, I've developed this approach which I call paralogical or paradoxical, because it feels it's a big subject, and I don't want to move too far away from the love theme, but it seems like everything in life is paradoxical, and so that's why for me, it's not that it's non-dual, it's that it's non-dual and dual. That's the mystery. That it's paradox. The yin yang captures it perfectly. That's the great paradox. So everything has that quality to it. So it's formless and form. So we're separate and not separate. And the why love is so central to me is that love is the experience that happens in my vulnerable little tender Tim thing. That's what happens to this when I wake up to the hugeness of my deeper identity. And then there's this lovely thing. One of the things you sent in the notes when you were talking about what you were doing with this retreat, which I loved, was you talked about devotional love. And I think integrating back in that sense of devotional love into non-dual philosophy is a great thing to do. Because I don't know what's happening where you are, but in the UK it seems to be lost somewhat. Because there's that. Because again, it's relational. And that's what's lovely. Is that for me, it's like if I come into Tim, I have this relational love with God, Goddess, oneness, whatever I want to, the mystery. And that is it's a lovely thing. The same as I have a relational thing with you, or I can step back into this, and it's all one, and there's no relationship between anything, and they coexist. They don't. I don't have to choose between them. Because they're both perspectives which I can enjoy.
Yeah. I mean that there's an aliveness in the devotion that to me it just brings the heart alive.
Yeah.
For me it's a love affair with love.
Yeah.
With the beloved. And I mean, I wouldn't want to do without that, because it's just so beautiful. And there's this kind of oscillation. It's like one moment I'm in this love, and the next moment there just is love.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like a dance almost.
It is.
It goes back and forth, and it's just very wonderful.
I know. I love those dance or making love. I mean, it's that whole dynamic of two and one, two and one, two and one, two and one. Am I two? Am I one? Am I two? Am I one? That's the mystery. I feel that's what we're in. To really explore that, the impossible. There's a lovely line in T.S. Eliot in the Four Quartets, one of the poets I love. He talks about this is the impossible. This is where the impossible union of spheres is made actual. Like here, it's impossible that it can be both, but it is. It is. Everything about this is not either this or this. It's both. It's both. It's both. And yeah, it just blows me away when I see that.
Yeah.